Hey
Hopefully
guys,
not.
Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Excuse me, this is Judge Bill, and we are in court right now. We got a law division, and we just built it. It was just fully funded recently. So we're going to start with our first case, talking about was Cyclops right? And look at this, we got lawyers. We've got Derrick McElroy, and he's going to be on the defense, and then we've got an actual lawyer, real life. This is what he does. Mr. Sterling Hall.
That's
And would
correct.
that be Sterling Hall Esquire? Is that how that works?
No, I'm a lawyer right now. I'm going to be taking the bar soon, and then I'll be an attorney. So
That
that's
is
what.
terrifying. Now, before everybody starts throwing their hate, I want it to be understood that every single person in this room is actually a Cyclops fan. Since Sterling is an actual lawyer, I was like, listen, would you mind arguing as prosecution against Cyclops? So make no mistake, no hate mail towards Sterling, okay? The dude loves Cyclops. He said, I would love to defend Cyclops. So I was just like, listen, could you please? So this is at my request. This is my behest, okay? So don't no hate mail. And he's probably hopefully he's not going to be throwing too many softballs towards Derrick though, because I mean we got to have a case. But we're going to have their opening statements. Prosecution will always go first. And then we're going to have the actual case being made with evidence that you will see on the screen. And then we'll have our closing arguments. After that, you guys will be the jury in the comments. So, and again, be nice. Be nice to each other also. I don't want to have any Jerry Springer moments here. All right. So if we're ready, we're going to try the case. Was Cyclops right? And we're going to start with Mr. Sterling Hall.
Thank you, Your Honor, and I will begin. Your Honor, today we are here to affirm a simple concept. Cyclops was wrong. While we will get into the particulars and the intricate very soon, the facts will show a few pivotal pillars to be certain. The first, his plan for reviving the mutant gene was flawed and would not have yielded the results he wanted in accordance with his original plan. The second, he abandoned said original plan once new spheres of influence presented themselves to him. The third, there were several reasonable and less injurious alternatives available to the X-Men that would have avoided bloodshed, carnage, and death. And finally, and it must be added the most prominently, the man in question, Cyclops himself, the man that the defense is arguing for, said himself, admitted that he was wrong. All four of these aspects are beyond mere conjecture. They are facts and will be proven by prosecution to be facts. Cyclops is a mutant that attempted to do the right thing for his people the way he saw fit. However, that is the crux of an attempt. It denotes failure. The fact of the matter is, Cyclops was wrong. This is something that will be proven not only by his actions or lack thereof, but also by his own words on the matter. With this, I conclude my opening.
Convict. I mean, well, I think now we have to listen to the defense because wow, damn, that's harsh, dude. All right, let's go. Mr. Derrick McElroy, defense.
I will begin. We're here to discuss the plight of a man that took the literal survival of his species on his back. Magneto was gone. Xavier was gone, in exile. Who would go with Apocalypse? He took 200 mutants, including Namor. You know how hard it is to get Namor? He wanted to make it. He wanted to protect his. I wanted to show that this is a man who wanted to protect his species. He he wanted them to be okay. And sometimes you got to show them. Sometimes protection goes a long way. He taught them young. I want to show that he was a good man in decent time, and he tried his best. No one else stepped up, and you cannot be I want to show that he's completely in the right, and everybody who had something to say, it was mostly out of jealousy. And
I rest my case. Anyway, all right. So yeah, and it's true. I mean, we actually still don't have Namor in Krakoa. I'm just saying. So it's definitely hard to get Namor, right? Right. Okay. Anyway, okay. Prosecution. What crap do you have to say right now against this poor innocent man?
Thank you. He is not a man, Your Honor. He is a mutant.
I'm gonna mute my ass right now.
Thank you, Your Honor, and thank you, defense. As I stated before, the first pillar, it is that his plan for reviving the mutant gene was flawed, and it would not have yielded the results he wanted in accordance with his original plan. As we know, during AVX, Cyclops' original plan was to use the Phoenix Force through hope to bring back the mutant gene. I now ask to present P38 of evidence. As you see with P38 of evidence, from Avengers versus X-Men issue 12, page 28, it shows both Scarlet Witch and Hope with the Phoenix Force saying the phrase no more Phoenix in unison. It is very key to remember that during House of M, Scarlet Witch used her power to say no more mutants, which was the original cause of why there was no more mutant X gene. Cyclops forgot to factor this into his plan. It would behoove him that one would need the original power source that eradicated the mutant gene originally. As you can see, as we flip to P39 of evidence, the effects of both the Phoenix Force in unison with the Scarlet Witch power going across, and the Stepford Cuckoos are sensing new lights. And then we switch to P40, and there we go, a new mutant. It was, yes, P40. And as you can see, the new mutant, I believe her name is Sprite. So it was both. It was both the combination of Scarlet Witch's power, which originally took the mutants away, and the combination of the Phoenix Force through Hope that restarted the mutant X gene. Cyclops only wanted to use the Phoenix Force to bring back the mutants. This would not have been enough. By clear and conclusive evidence of these panels from Avengers versus X-Men issue 12, page 28 to 30. That is the first pillar. And with that, I pass to the defense.
Wow. Okay. Defense, you got your work cut out for you, bro.
Okay. Cyclops. He's been through a lot. We've seen a person who, we've seen a mutant who was recruited into an organization by a paramilitary faction to ensure basically they became the mutant police. If you can pull up D1 through 6, please. as we can see, Cyclops has been part of every iteration of the X-Men. He believed in Xavier's dream of peaceful coexistence between humans and mutants. Been there, in the dirt. But what happens? We all seen what happens. If you can bring up D7 through 13. Yes, the X-Men have always had enemies, mutant enemies. But their main enemy their main enemy has always been humanity. Sentinels. Humanity. The fall of Genosha. Humanity inspired. Stryker. Use religion as a way to justify killing thousands. Saying it was God's will.
Just say next frame when you need the next frame.
Okay, thank you. Next frame. The U-Men, a cult of humans who abducted mutants, dissected them, and placed them onto their bodies as a way in order to obtain their powers. Next frame, please. The Scarlet Witch, who, because of her internalized racism, basically neutered an entire race. And the worst. Next frame, please. Bendis. We all know what he's done. He's a madman who's never gotten his due. He hurt us all. He came up with the X-Men going back in time to get the original 5 and bringing them in. Why would a person do that? Bendis would, because he knows how to write teenagers. He doesn't know how to write adults. And he wants to make Cyclops into some sort of bad guy because it fits the Avengers agenda. This is a smear campaign placed on us because Captain America can't get over the fact that maybe somebody can do something better than he can. Let's talk about it. No, let's talk about it. If you can pull up D21, please. You see this. Captain America and the Avengers come in on a helicarrier. They're not here to talk. They're here to talk. They say, hey, the Phoenix came. The Phoenix is coming. Our experts, which Cyclops stopped him and said, you mean Wolverine? He knows nothing about the Phoenix. He doesn't know how it works. Come on. All he knows is what he's seen before. And Wolverine's very superstitious. Also, let's go back a little bit to the beginning. When the Phoenix was originally was seen, it was by Nova. People forget about the fact that Nova was a 15-year-old kid who knew nothing about the Phoenix. So basically, he saw a giant firebird in space and freaked out. So it was an overreaction. And the Avengers coming to the X-Men, it was really disrespectful. The X-Men when Kang the Conqueror attacks, the X-Men don't jump into the Avengers business. The Avengers should have stayed in their lane. And also, since the Avengers have always turned a blind eye to the X-Men, maybe, keep their mouth shut. You have nothing to say, don't do nothing. But all in all, there you go. I'm finished.
Wow. First off, we got to have a conversation about the Captain America thing, brah. All right. Prosecution.
Sir. Thank you, Your Honor. Defense, you have raised some very broad and yet very pivotal articles of your defense. And I'd like to say that I have a counter for nigh every one of them. Beginning first, we're transitioning into the second pillar. I would like you, but however, we will talk about Captain America, Nova, Wolverine, as well as Namor. So I would like to pull up P8. Excuse me, P7 first, then P8. As you can see right here, this is Phoenix Force Cyclops when he is still part of the Phoenix Five and not under the complete influence of the Phoenix, showing Hope and telling Hope that she cannot have the Phoenix Force because she walked away from it. It was a gift that he thought at the time a child could be able to wield, but here he is blatantly saying that she would not know what to do with it. As I stated in the first pillar, his plan was originally to give it to Hope. However, once the sphere of influence, that being the Phoenix Force 5, once it's split into different entities of the X-Men, he changed his plan and said, no, we, the Phoenix 5, will use this power because you, Hope, are no longer the answer. He abandoned his own plan once new facts or a new option was available to him. This shows that Cyclops is not above taking new information. However, the original plan was to give it to Hope, and now he has abandoned that plan. Going now on to Captain America, you raise a good point. However, we need to go to P. Apologize. We need to go to we need to go to P41. Right here in this panel, it comes from Avengers vs. X-Men, issue 12, page 32. In P41, as you showed before, Defense Counsel, when Captain America came onto Utopia with a Hulk, I will add that, and told Cyclops to give over the Phoenix Force, Cyclops said that you have never done anything for mutants. This stuck with Captain America. This was an alternative Captain America thought about, and Cyclops and Captain America could have worked together to both contain the Phoenix Force and bring back new mutants. However, he did not do that. They both were too headstrong and they led to war. In this, P41, it shows that Captain America took what Cyclops said to heart, and this is the beginning of the Uncanny Avengers, a team of Avengers and X-Men that would work together as a unity squad to protect the world from threats that they would have against mutants. This option was available and it was taken to heart. This could have been made by both Captain America and Cyclops. However, Cyclops chose to tell Captain America to get off his island. This shows that that there was less injurious alternative available, but Cyclops chose not to go for it. You spoke of Namor. I'm very glad you talked about that. Namor is hard to wrangle in. So hard, in fact, that when he got power from the Phoenix Force and influence from Emma Frost, which I will show in P14. Namor is upset. So this comes from Avengers vs. X-Men issue 7, page 20. Namor is upset over how things are running because the Scarlet Witch has been shown to be able to hurt the Phoenix Five. So this could put a damper in their plan, even though they abandoned the plan of hope and are chosen to use the Phoenix Five powers themselves to bring peace to the land. Namor was upset and he was no longer listening to Cyclops' orders. This is shown in the next slide, where Emma Frost, under the Phoenix Force, seduced Namor via the kiss, as we see, to attack Wakanda because that's where Hope was, which exactly that he did in the very next slide. Namor took his power of the Phoenix Force, rose a tsunami, and in the very next slide, flooded Wakanda. You are right, Defense. It is very hard to wrangle in Namor, and this is the result when you do. Cyclops had this. One could say that it wasn't Namor's fault. However, it wasn't Cyclops' fault. However, Namor is Cyclops' responsibility. He was on his team, and he chose to keep him on there. Cyclops understands the influence of the Phoenix Force. As a matter of fact, As a matter of, let me continue with the issue. So Namor, under the power of the Phoenix Force and under the seduction of Emma Frost, and not under the guidance of Cyclops, he has lost control of a very pivotal member of his team, flooded Wakanda, something that it took years for the country to come back to. This is on Cyclops. This was his troop, and it was his troop, and it happened under his watch or lack thereof. Moreover, when it comes to the Phoenix Force in general, Cyclops knew that the Phoenix Force was slowly but surely unlocking and uninhibiting the X-Men to their more primal and malicious desires. As you can see in P11, this is Hawkeye, a mere human, an Avenger nonetheless, but a mere human, hitting Emma Frost with an arrow that was not harmful, that was not fatal. Emma Frost, for a fraction of a second on P12, burned him to a crisp with just a thought, like that. She lost control for an instant, an iota of a second, less than that, and this was the results. This is also on Cyclops' watch. When Cyclops in P13 calls Emma to task on it, next slide. It shows here, once again, the charred body of Hawkeye. He survived, but barely. The charred body of Hawkeye, and Cyclops says right here, how could you do this? Emma Frost said she didn't know. It was just a quick instant. She lost control for a second, an iota of a second, and look at the damage it caused. She wasn't even trying to kill him, but it almost happened. As I said with the second pillar, Cyclops abandoned the plan once new spheres of influence presented themselves, that being the Phoenix Five. However, he knew the dangers of what the Phoenix Five could do if they were left unchecked, and he ignored it nonetheless. With that, I pass to the defense.
Oy. Got your work cut out for you, defense.
Hey, winning would be so easy if it was, would it be so sweet if it was easy? The prosecution, beautiful, by the way you put it together. You said that Cyclops, Namor was under Cyclops' troop, and he attacked Wakanda. They're all true, but we also have to remember, as shown in your own evidence, Scott didn't know. So when it happened, he was taken just as surprised as everybody else was. And Hawkeye, that looks bad. It looks really bad. But we also had to remember they didn't kill him, and they got him, and they healed him. They gave him. I like to go into let's go in D15. Cyclops had a change of behavior. He saw things a bit more black and white. In this exchange, we see that Wolverine had a class to teach the lights. I believe they were called the Phoenix Lights. No, I'm sorry, not the lights. All right, we're calling them the lights for now. Wolverine come. They tell him like we have a practice. He says, "What are you doing? You're 14. Shouldn't you be playing with dolls?" Which kind of tells you that Wolverine does not know the difference between a 14-year-old and a 6-year-old. He thinks that these are children who should be completely protected when really they can protect themselves. They just need guidance and not to be treated like children. Because if you're a mutant, you have to grow up fast. Next frame, please. Idy. This young girl who has the ability to manipulate fire and create lightning she needed guidance from Wolverine, and you saw that he just kind of blew her off. Next frame, please. The prosecution mentioned that with Cyclops, he was, I would like this, a terrorist? Cyclops as we can see, Cyclops had gone to the United Nations to establish Utopia as its own sovereign. He wanted to work with humanity. Next frame, please. He went up to the world with them. Can you decommission your Sentinel programs? We want to help. There's only 200 of us. We just want to live. We want to live with you. Next frame, please. And as soon as he finished, we get a bunch of countries say, "What? I don't have any Sentinel programs." Canada, yes, you do have a Sentinel program. Next frame, please. And then we see at the very top right here, we see these two security guards saying, "Oh, muties, we all should, like, they just want to do everything they want." What does that say? We need to round them up on an island somewhere. Next for. Okay, all right. Cyclops wasn't wrong. How can a man who never used the Phoenix Force to hurt? I mean, I'm sorry. Sorry. When Cyclops went Dark Phoenix, did he really go Dark Phoenix? If we can go to D20, 3, please. Wait. Wait. I'm sorry. Yeah, that one. Yeah. When Xavier contacted Cyclops, he didn't say, "Hello, I'm trying to help you." He said, like, "I'm so ashamed of you." Because Cyclops did something that Xavier couldn't. While the X-Men were battling the Avengers, the Phoenix Five were actually trying to help. Were healing the world. We've seen that all throughout the event. So Xavier says right here, "I'm not here to argue with you, and I'm not here to fight. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to help. Admit it, you need it, and this will all go." And Cyclops was just so angry with Xavier because the ego on him. After everything he's done, he has the nerve to judge. After what Xavier did with the second group of X-Men, who went after, who were first into Krakoa, just what he did to Danger, when he found out the Danger Room was actually a sentient being, and he still kept it contained. I think Cyclops got a bad rap. It passed to the prosecution.
Just removed myself from the screen trying to talk again. Well, you're doing good, dude. You're doing really good.
The prosecution got me. I'm sorry. Like you're really good, man. Like
it's kind of his job.
It's not over yet. Let's keep going. It's not over yet.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. All right, prosecution.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, defense. Very good arguments, and I do agree that Cyclops was given a bad rap. However, I think you would agree on the fact that it's not what you're called, it's what you answer to. And then that being said, yes, when Cyclops and the Phoenix Five became the Phoenix Five, originally, they were helping the world. However, on a surface level, it looked great. However, once you looked in a little bit deeper, things started to become a bit more sinister. I'd like to pull up P51. This is from X-Men Legacy issue 269, page 21. This, as you can see, is Rogue, Captain Marvel, excuse me. She was like right now, she was Miss Marvel. However, she turned into Captain Marvel later. So Carol Danvers and Elena Rasputin, aka Magic, who has the Phoenix 5 power within her. Rogue has just defeated one of the more stronger Avengers, one of the stronger Avengers of Carol Danvers. To be fair, Carol Danvers was not trying to go into a brawl-out fight with Rogue. In fact, they actually have a little bit of history together. Carol Danvers knows that Rogue could very easily put her into a coma. However, she chose to talk with her nonetheless. As you can see, Magic comes in and then teleports Carol Danvers while she's still encased in ice to a volcano. Next slide. She then takes Carol Danvers and drops her into the volcano. However, it turns out it wasn't a volcano that she dropped her in. She literally dropped her into limbo, her dimension, limbo as in hell. So it turned out that the Phoenix Five, after the Avengers were pushing back, even though the Phoenix Five were bettering the world, they still were being left unchecked. The Avengers could not allow that to be. So instead, Cyclops said, "No more Avengers," which I will show later on. He said, "No more Avengers," and they weren't going to kill them at first. Instead, they were going to imprison them, and by imprison, I mean put them in limbo, as you can see. Next slide. Elena is still explaining how the process works. So she drops them from a volcano and then puts them into limbo. And that would be one thing in itself, just being imprisoned against your will. However, next slide. Each and every one of the Avengers that is within this night, that is within Limbo, gets their own personal version of hell that attacks their biggest fear and their nightmares. As you can see, this is a monster rogue attacking Carol Danvers, which makes sense, as I told you before, with the history. The history between Rogue and Carol Danvers is that the reason Rogue can fly, has super strength permanently, is because Rogue's power is to absorb energy through touch. She held on to Carol Danvers so long that her powers of flight and strength stay with Rogue permanently. And we can see a literal manifestation of that fear, that PTSD attacking Carol Danvers, and she is in shock. Next slide. Moreover, we see other unfortunate people who have been caught. Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew, Luke Cage, and even Hawkeye, who, yes, he did survive. So now he went from being burned to being placed in a nightmare. Next slide will show, also Quicksilver, who at the time was still a mutant. So they do this even to their own kind. If they don't, I wouldn't say bend the knee, but if they don't fall in line and with the Phoenix Five. So there's that part. Once again, the third pillar was that there were several reasonable and less injurious alternatives available to the X-Men that would have avoided bloodshed, carnage, and death. This right here is carnage. This is excessive. This is not needed. Earlier, the defense talked about the Five Lights, which was correct. That's their name. And specifically, he mentioned a mutant by the name of Idie. This is very important because she's actually keen. As Wolverine said, Wolverine believed that Idie should be playing with dolls, or at least should be doing kid things. I would like you all to look at, the panel that is on P60. And P60, this is the panel from X-Men Schism number 3, page 18. In P60, we see Idie, who has been given a choice by Cyclops. There are people at a museum celebrating the X-Men, and it is, I believe they were the U-Men who were attacking. They were attacking the X-Men. Wolverine believed that Idie should not engage and definitely not attack and or kill. Cyclops, in a moment that will forever be a part of his character, told Idie to do what you feel is necessary. And as so, we need to go to we need to go to P50. And as so, Idie does so. She uses her powers of she can control ice and heat. She attacks the U-Men, and it led to their deaths. If you can go to P57. As you can see, the building is on fire. One could argue, hey, that's just on fire. Idie is pulling some people away. However, I will show you this. Go to P58. The building explodes. As you can see, there are bodies in that building. They are the U-Men, and it explodes. Idie killed those men on the order of Cyclops. This shows that Cyclops is not above killing if he believes necessary. This is important because he told a teenager to kill if he felt it was necessary. This shows the length and the people that he will use to do what he believed is right. Keep in mind, I said believe, not necessarily what is. Much to the chagrin of Wolverine in the next slide, who is furious and pops up the claws. But Cyclops says, Cyclops essentially says, this is the world that we live in now. Either be with it or be against it, but this is how we are. So this shows that Cyclops is not above the torturous activities that will happen later on in AVX. More importantly, the defense talked about the fact that Cyclops could no longer wrangle in Namor. That is understood. However, Cyclops was the leader. You are only as strong as your weakest link. And if you're telling me that there is a wild card on your team that you cannot account for, it is still your wild card nonetheless. Ignorance is not an excuse, particularly when it comes to the law. Next, we go to the question of whether Cyclops was a Dark Phoenix or not. I would like to go to P33. Principally after the death of Xavier, the father Cyclops had, the father figure that Cyclops had, this incites something within him that causes him to become the Phoenix. Granted, it says the Phoenix right here. However, circumstantial evidence would present the fact that it is actually the Dark Phoenix based on the amount of energy, the look of the character, the lightning that's coming out of it. I would not say that this is life incarnate for a positive. This is a negative. This is the Dark Phoenix. This was activated after Cyclops absorbed all pieces of the Phoenix Force and became the Phoenix himself. Once again, and this came after the death of Xavier, showing that either Cyclops was willing to kill or Cyclops was not above letting the Phoenix take control to kill Xavier if he thought it was within the right. However, just because you think something is right does not mean that it is right. As I said before, with my third pillar, there were several reasonable and less injurious alternatives available to the X-Men that would have avoided bloodshed, carnage, and death. We have seen the bloodshed, we have seen the carnage, and we very well have seen the death. I pass.
I feel like this is 8 Mile.
Okay.
Okay. The prosecution mentioned that the Phoenix Five, their intentions got a bit more sinister, a bit more darker. This is true. For Emma, she started to lose her grasp on humanity. Namor, it went full tilt into his warlike tendencies. With the Rasputins, it canceled each other out. But you got to remember, with Cyclops, he didn't go evil. He kept his mind, he was focused. The same thing that he's been teased about, mocked at. They used to call him stiff, stoic, broody. No. He was focused like a laser. He saw what he had a clear idea of what he was doing. And going back to my previous pillar with Professor Xavier, I would say that Cyclops was goated. So Xavier didn't try to talk to him. He just said, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Despite the fact Cyclops really hadn't done anything wrong. All that resentment that the other X-Men had was towards Emma. I don't have it because I didn't think about it. But there's one scene where Emma is floating and she has mutants bowing to her. And they all have to think nice thoughts. If that wasn't Scott, that was Emma. Xavier, I understand where he's coming from. He wanted to stop it. He thought that, hey, we can stop the Phoenix before it gets out of control. But then when he and when all the Avengers started attacking him, and they, all right, you have to remember something I've noticed. Iceman, he said, Xavier, he was like a son to you, and he was like a brother to me. And the first thing he did, he says, "Damn you, we're sick of you." Like, wow, that's your friend. That's your brother, and you said you hate him. I say Xavier was murdered by Cyclops. That is true. Cyclops admits it. He takes full responsibility. After everything went down, he turned himself in. He stayed in jail. He had Magneto and Magic on the outside saying, "Are you ready?" And the reason why Cyclops broke out was because a new mutant was murdered just for being a mutant. Cyclops was content on staying in jail forever, but he saw that his people needed him. He saw that humanity, they don't care about them. They're ready to take them out. To quote Quentin Quire, humanity has become pathetically insecure. And I pass it to the prosecution.
That's solid. It's solid.
Thank you, defense. And now I will be moving into the fourth and most prominent pillar. However, I will address some concepts that you talked about. The panel in question that you're talking about in terms of Emma Frost is in P24. This comes from Avengers vs. X-Men issue 10, page 8. I believe this is the one you're talking about. This panel right here, this does show that Emma floating above her constituents. However, I think now she believes they're more peons under the influence of the Phoenix Force. Once again, it's diving more into her inhibition or lack of inhibition. This is how she sees herself in front of others. She does want them to think happy thoughts. Nonetheless, by this point, Cyclops knows what the Phoenix does to people like Emma, because once again, with just a thought, she burned almost to death Hawkeye, and he left her unchecked. At this point, Cyclops knew that Emma could take a wild card like Namor and use him to attack the Phoenix, and use him to attack the Avengers. We go into the next slide as well, into page P25. Emma Frost is even attacking Magneto, the master of magnetism himself. Cyclops is losing his grip on the Phoenix Five, particularly when it comes to Emma. I will say that it seems that Emma was the most notorious person when it comes to losing control. I would say that, however, even more so on page 27, on P27. As you can see here, this is Emma trying to go full on Phoenix. This comes from Avengers vs. X-Men issue 11, page 9. She is trying to entice a still reserved Cyclops into literally wiping out the Avengers and restarting from scratch. And Cyclops says no. He literally asks her what is wrong with her, and she doesn't know. The Phoenix is taking over her mind. Cyclops is still able to resist, but even then, Cyclops understands, hey, this is not the Emma I know. This is not the Emma that I can lead. That's not the Emma that will listen to me. This is key. There were several instances, at least 3, where Cyclops saw that his alternative from giving the Phoenix Force to Hope, a plan which wouldn't have worked in the beginning because they needed the Scarlet Witch, per Avengers vs. X-Men shown, that restarting X gene, this plan that he changed and altered is not working, yet he still continued forward. However, as I said before, we have it from the words of the man himself. An admission by a party opponent, which is not hearsay, it is an hearsay exemption and is admissible. Please go to P45. This comes from Uncanny X-Men Annual, page 34. This is Cyclops, a newly revived Cyclops, with a younger Cable, and it says right here, Cyclops, I was wrong. In the next panel down, he specifically says what he was wrong about. As you can see, he even makes this admission on a beach and relents on the fact that it was a beach where Xavier was killed at. So we know specifically what he's talking about. He says right here, I killed Charles Xavier on a beach. So we know what he's talking about. Cyclops says, I was wrong. Granted, he says, I'm going, and in the next panel, yes. Page, P46. He says he's going to make it right, but this does not take away the fact that he admits himself he was wrong. The trial itself has been about whether Cyclops was wrong. The mutant revolutionary leader himself says that he was wrong. As I stated before, there were 4 pillars that I was going to prove today to say that Cyclops was wrong. The first was that his plan to revive the mutant gene was flawed and would not have yielded the results that he wanted. This was proven as it showed that we needed both the Scarlet Witch and the Phoenix Force to restart the mutant gene. This was shown in Avengers vs. X-Men. The second was that he abandoned the plan, his original plan for the Phoenix, to give to Hope. Once new spheres of influence presented themselves to him, that was the Phoenix 5. He changed the plan and would not give Hope the Phoenix Force because he thought that she was not ready and she would not deserve it. However, those spheres of influence slowly but surely corrupted the Phoenix 5. Cyclops being the last for sure, but he knew several times over how the Phoenix was taking over, so much to the fact that even though he tried to fight it, he became the Dark Phoenix himself. The third was that there were several reasonable and less injurious alternatives available to the X-Men that would have avoided bloodshed, carnage, and death. All 3 came from the X-Men. The bloodshed, the carnage of putting people such as Hawkeye, poor Hawkeye, Quicksilver, Luke Cage, and even Carol Danvers into a limbo-like state, burning someone almost to death, killing someone, Xavier. All these happened under the plan that Cyclops was unleashing, and he did not abandon it. And finally, the smoking gun, the optic blast itself, that being Cyclops admitting that he was wrong. All 4 of these are beyond mere conjecture. These are facts that the prosecution, myself, have proven to be true. He attempted to save his race. He attempted to be right. However, attempt denotes failure. Cyclops was wrong. For better or for worse, he was wrong. I pass to the defense.
The optic blast, like you had to put some flavor on that one. All right.
First of all, the prosecution, a lot of good points. The prosecution brought up that Cyclops denied Hope Summers the Phoenix Force but we have to remember, Hope didn't want the Phoenix Force. She just went along with it. And Cyclops knew this. He said, you didn't want it. Like, why do you want it now? Yes. And yes, he did say I was wrong. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, but then what about Krakoa? Krakoa is an extension of what Cyclops had. An extension. And Xavier, yes, Cyclops did kill Xavier. But I'm pretty sure Xavier now will be like, I kind of had it coming. We had it. I was wrong. If you can bring up D27 and 28, please. I want to show how spiteful people are being towards Cyclops. We get here. Cyclops and Wolverine are talking, and he said, "I'm not a mutant terrorist. I'm trying to save my people, and here you are with the Avengers being a sellout." And Cyclops brings up to Wolverine, "How's it okay for you to kill literally millions of people every week?" I remember a time where Wolverine said, I killed an entire town one time. Funny story. Happened in Astonishing. Wolverine can... And here's the... Wolverine basically wanted to show that Cyclops was wrong, but really he showed how Cyclops taking more confidence, taking the reins, taking control of his own destiny, makes Wolverine look like a sucker. Wolverine says here, "You're a better, for lack of a better term, badass than I am, and it makes me feel bad." He's saying, like, the reason why I hate you because you hate yourself. Why? And if you can go up to D29, Cyclops has lost a lot. Like, no one has lost more than Cyclops. He's lost his the love of his life. Next frame, please. His wife. Sorry about the picture. And next frame. And his son. All for Xavier. All for his kind, his species. The defense rests. He's a decent man. He was trying to be practical. He was a parent trying to protect his kid. He may have overcompensated, but
Do you want to save this for your closing statement?
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't have a lot, man. I was grasping at straws.
So good. That was actually a really good point to finish up on. So does the prosecution rest?
The prosecution rests.
Oh, so I think that now we'll have our closing statements. Prosecution will go first, and the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. As the defense has shown, Cyclops, the mutant, has been through a hard time. No one will deny this. The defense mentioned loss. The defense, like I said, the defense mentions loss, and that is important. Cyclops has lost since the beginning, since he was 6 years old. He lost his father and mother in a plane crash. He lost his brother protecting him. He lost control of his powers before he even knew they existed. He lost his wife. He lost the love of his life. He lost his wife. He even lost his son to the detriments of fate. He has lost a lot. However, loss does not begot what he has done. Just because you lose something does not mean that you are allowed to take away from others. Cyclops was a mutant that thought he was right. However, even through his own words, he knew later on he was wrong. It has been said that Cyclops is ruthless. This is a fact, but this is not negative. Ruthless means you don't care what people think. Ruthless means that you will do what you believe is right to protect your own and suffer the consequences later, whether they're right or wrong. As I stated before, Cyclops' plan, his original plan, would not have worked. He forgot to factor in the Scarlet Witch. It was a good idea, but it was only half-baked. Cyclops knew the capability of the Phoenix Force. He arguably is an expert. Probably one of the only people that was a better expert was that of Jean Grey, and she was gone. However, the facts remain, his plan would not have worked. Cyclops was given an alternative plan, that of forming a team or working with the Avengers. He chose not to do that. He chose instead to fight, something that he's accustomed to, something which is not wrong. Cyclops was in the right when it came to fighting for what he believed in. However, that led to much more carnage and even the death of mutants, the death of his father figure. How can one say that he is fighting for mutants when mutants are dying under his watch? Cyclops legitimately said himself that he was wrong. He was gung-ho about it and he was going to fight to the bitter end, but his own words and his own reflection realized that he had put the mutants in a worse position than they had been before. Cyclops is a classic case of wanting to do the right thing for the right reasons, but in the wrong way, and suffering for it as a result. Yes, Cyclops was more than willing to take responsibility for the people that he put in harm's way. However, had he done a little bit more reasonable work, there would have not been people in harm's way to begin with, and there would not have been the loss of his father figure, that of Charles Xavier. Cyclops is a mutant that was wrong. Simply put, I rest my case.
Okay. Okay. Defense, if you'd like to make your closing statement.
As big as a fan of Cyclops as I am, I will admit he was wrong. He should never have gotten involved with the Phoenix. He should have talked to Captain America and tried to set up some sort of program, but we've seen in the past that doesn't work. The Avengers, we've seen, they don't care about mutants. We've seen that. When Genosha happened, where were the Avengers? When M-Day happened, where were the Avengers? You know where they were? They were at their mansion like, where's Hawkeye? Where's Wanda? Where about the mutants? I don't care about them. That's an X-Men problem. When the Terrigen Mist was going around killing mutants, but helping the Inhumans.
Prosecution, should we be introducing new evidence into this?
Oh no. It's all coming to a point.
Oh no, you can. No, you're fine.
Okay, cool.
Oh no, it's all coming to. Yes, Cyclops could have gone to the leaders of Marvel, of the great leaders, but he took it upon himself. Yes, he was wrong. But if we didn't have that, we wouldn't have Krakoa. Long live Krakoa. Prosecution. The defense rests.
He said, long live Krakoa. Okay, first off, prosecution, just real quick before you wind up like having people coming after you, say something nice about Cyclops.
Okay, let me say this. I am a huge Cyclops. Cyclops is my favorite X-Men. I love Cyclops to death. It hurt me to get those panels. Everyone, it was just a stab in the. I was like, I was crying. But I had to do the argument that like there are many ways that I can like. I was arguing with myself. How dare you say that? Like, how could you? But no, I love Cyclops to death. Cyclops is my favorite. He is my favorite X-Men by far. He will always be my favorite X-Men. I am biased to Cyclops, but Cyclops, he is one of the things I love about him is that he has had one of the most natural character developments in comics to date. So
yeah, hands down.
So if people think that I hate Cyclops, that's how much I love him. I love him enough to pretend to hate him. So that's
and let's not be too mad at Derrick McElroy. Let's remember that Mr. Sterling Hall here is an actual lawyer. If you guys want to elicit his services, hopefully he will be in the chat when what do you call it when this thing actually goes live. But wow, don't be too mad at Mr. Derrick over here, because like he definitely did his best. He is not a lawyer though. I was surprised when you said, okay, fine, Cyclops is wrong. I'm like, oh, did you just surrender the entire case? You deny that, man. You deny that like your side chick. No.
You could do that because you could just throw yourself at the mercy of the court and ask for leniency. So,
but it was all coming to a point though.
Right.
Okay.
It was going to the long live Krakoa. No, listen, I have to, agree that probably one of the best points that was made though is that even though he was wrong, if we're going to bring it into the logical conclusion, the logical next step of this, though he was wrong, look at the idea of how many people had to be wrong in order for them to come to Krakoa. And we don't even know if Krakoa is right. That story's still being told.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, everything seems to be working more towards Cyclops' original dream. It's not about Professor X's dream. It's not about Magneto's dream. It seems to me that the person who was, even if Cyclops was wrong, the question is, who was the most right?
Yes.
And I again, as a Cyclops fan myself, he is an extremely complicated character for a guy who. Okay, we'll talk about Wakanda another day, but what do you call it? Like the idea?
DX.
Huh? Oh, DX. No, that's
DX.
the chat block.
Right.
When it was Uncanny X-Men 2013, he actually did this to like when he was spraying triage, he did this to the camera.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah,
nice. Love that.
He was a wrestling fan.
Okay, I got to go back and see that one. You guys just cut me off, but no, at the end of the day, like he really was essentially the most right. For a guy whose mutant power is to shoot lasers from his eye. I know they're concussive blast, shut up. To shoot lasers from his eye. Here's a guy who's the most complex character amongst all of the mutants. I mean, bring it. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't even need a trial. So I think this was really good. With both the prosecution and the defense resting, I'm going to leave it to the chat to come to their own conclusions. And that's on you guys. Anything else from you guys?
Can I plug in a channel?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I'd like to plug in because these are the people who actually allowed me to get into contact with you all. And it's still crazy to me that I was able to do this in the first place. It's on YouTube. It's Geek Astronaut, GEEK, and then Astronaut. These are the people who put me into contact with you all, and this is the reason why I'm here now. So I'm going to give them a good shout out. I am not an affiliate of them. I'm an advocate of them. Please watch their channel, John Cho for Moon Knight.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I don't actually know how to make banners yet, but yeah, what's the name of the channel again?
Geek Astronaut.
Geek Astronaut. Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, so what, they saw this and then they contacted you?
His name is the Red Knight. In fact, you actually talked to him too. He said, I literally have a friend who's both a Cyclops fan and a lawyer. And you said, give him my email, and here I am.
Oh, nice. Okay, fantastic. Good looking out. Genuinely good looking out. Okay, I got to check out this channel now myself.
Problem. I can send you a link later on.
Please do. Yeah, you got my email, my Discord, all that good stuff. So.
Okay. Also, I wanted to ask you guys, X-Force. We didn't get into this. X-Force.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Cyclops' X-Force.
Mm-hmm.
Was he wrong? I would argue that Wolverine's was worse.
He disbanded the X-Force after a while. So after that, I would say it was that Cyclops is by any means necessary kind of guy. but he will but he will factor in death when death is on the counter. When it's not, he's an X-Men, and X-Men don't kill. That's straight from Astonishing X-Men when he lost his powers.
But like Wolverine said in the first New X-Men 133, you learn or you die.
That's correct.
Oh, did you get the that comic, Professor?
Which comic? Oh no, I didn't get it. Well, on Tuesdays is when I actually go to the comic book store to check my mail. So I'll see you on Tuesday.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, Derrick.
I've been wondering.
Derrick is actually sending me the first appearance of Sand because he's freaking awesome, and that had nothing to do. That was not a bribe. That was not a bribe. I literally took a bunch of videos from a bunch of people making opening statements, and I quite literally took the best two that I could find. So there's that. Anyway, yeah, as far as the X-Force thing, in my opinion, Cyclops was 100% hypocritical, but at the same time, he did also justify it. And he is capable of recognizing when he's wrong after a certain time. It's hard once you get into that focused mindset to take a step back and be introspective, but Cyclops can be introspective, but he is very hard-headed in that regard. And sometimes you have to be. You can't, start flip-flopping all the time once you've made a decision. So there is that. Say again?
Captain America does the same thing.
Captain America does essentially do the same thing. And Captain America was very lucky in the regard. And you know what, since you bring that up, I can make the Ed Brubaker argument that Bucky, unlike Kirby's original idea, instead of him just being this cool sidekick, he was actually the guy who could go out with a gun. Captain America had to be the standard bearer with the red, white, and the blue. Very, very akimbo to what do you call it? The Batman and Robin thing. It's like, I'm going to wear all dark. You wear all the bright colors. You draw the fire. No, Captain America was the exact opposite. I'll be the guy. I'll have the shield, but I'll be the bright guy. You're the guy who goes in the shadows and does the things that Captain America should not do. That's pretty much the Wolverine and Cyclops mentality, the way that I look at it. And I'm literally just thinking about that now, but it fits. The one thing I did always have a problem with was that when Cyclops told Wolverine, I want you to start up X-Force again, he had that sick smile on his face. He knew that he was unleashing a beast. He knows what Wolverine is. Literally, I felt like he was keeping him by his side, tolerating, whatever, because he wanted to have that ace in the corner. It does seem hypocritical. It does seem malicious. At the same time, like you said, he does do what needs to be done.
Yeah. Yep. Cyclops is right.
No, you already said he's wrong. I don't even want to hear about it, man.
No. Hey, but all I'm saying is Cyclops, he put the X-Men and mutant kind on his back. No one else was stepping up.
He has brought them back from the brink of extinction several times.
Yeah.
And they still didn't give him any kind of love.
And that doesn't matter because he doesn't want the love. He is a hero through and through. He does it because it needs to be done.
100%. And I would actually really like that to be the closing statement. The thing that everybody thinks about. Yeah, he's not about the adulation. He's about the results. And I don't think anything defines hero more than that. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a judge. All right, guys.
Hey, do you guys remember when Cyclops and Apocalypse got merged?
Yes.
And that was I would say that was the beginning of Cyclops' entire character his development, because he was telling Jean, Apocalypse just ripped away all my self delusions and everything. He just I can't get my thoughts out. It can get his thoughts out of me. And then Jean was like, "Oh, you'll get over it." She really just "Oh, you'll get you're not the only person to be possessed by an evil spirit. This is the first time it's ever happened to him. He's traumatized."
Right.
And his wife said, "Oh, you get come on, man up."
Oh, Dark Phoenix is a bigger, cosmic level entity. Apocalypse is not, but still, yeah, it is what it is.
Yes.
The I think the Phoenix was more about letting go, and the Apocalypse thing was more about let's remove those inhibitions.
It's very interesting because both Cyclops and Apocalypse are both on Krakoa, and they like work with each other. So I would love to see a little panel of like, we have some history that we need to talk about, don't we?
It would be nice if it was acknowledged, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, we're cool, right? Man, you were in my head for a long time. Yeah, it happens. You're not the first person this happened to.
All right. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Anyways, guys, thank you for showing up. Let's see in the comments all those good chats. Professor Bill and Derrick McElroy and Sterling Hall. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.
Later.